This is thrilling coming from a big Yes fan. It is Morning Bull, 97 Rock in Buffalo. We're joined by Yes frontman and now the worker, the man behind 1,000 hands, Jon Anderson. Jon, good morning. Welcome back to Buffalo on the radio here at 97 Rock. How are you?
Doing great. Lovely to hear from you.
Tell us a little bit about the new record. I understand this has been a long work in progress in terms of a timetable, huh?
Yeah, 30 years ago, I got together with an old friend, Brian Chatton, who used to be in my first band, the Warriors, in the 60s. And we were down in L.A., went up to the ski resort of Big Bear and wrote some songs, and then he ran away with a girl. And then I had the tapes, put them in my garage, and 28 years later, a producer in Orlando, Michael Franklin, called me up and said, "Have you still got those tapes you did in Big Bear?" And I said, yeah, they're in the garage. So he said, "Well, send them to me, and I'll put them on the computer and see if they sound okay," which they did. And all of a sudden, he actually put Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull on one of the tracks. He just knew him, phoned him up, and got him to play some flute on a track called Activate Me. And that started the ball rolling, and he started putting all his friends. Because Michael Franklin toured with Chuck Berry for 15 years, so he met every musician in the world. So he got Billy Cobham to play on a track, Chick Corea to play on a track, Tower of Power to play on a track. The list is endless, and it became a really, really good album. And we tried to release it last year, but then we couldn't find the right record company until this year, and it just came out 2 days ago, and that's the story. I'm sticking to that.
That works for us, for sure. Jon Anderson, the album is 1,000 Hands. Obviously, the big question, the elephant in the room, how and when are we going to be able to get our hands on this thing full length?
It's out now. Yesterday it came out. I've got Chris Squire and Alan White playing on it 30 years ago. They played on 2 tracks. And I even got Steve Howe to play on the last track of the album because he owed me one, because I sang on his album about Bob Dylan about 20 years ago. So I called him up and said, "You said you play on my album, so this is the track. Just play a lovely little guitar on it." And I loved it so much, I actually sang a love letter to him and said, "Without you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, Steve. I love you, man."
Jon Anderson, famously from Yes, of course, the new record, 1,000 Hands. How can people get their hands on it?
It's on sale now in Amazon and your local record store. I think you don't have them anymore. So
right.
You can get them online. You can stream it. I'll send you a copy if you send me, send me your information.
Fair enough. So let's back up a little bit, Jon Anderson. So the producer and you have this conversation, and you say you have those tapes in your garage. We know that tape occasionally, more often than not, doesn't last 30 years unless it's preserved in a particular way. Do you have a particular way of preserving your tapes that it was still good enough to still be used 30 years later?
No, and it's a miracle that I sent them over there to Orlando, and what you have to do, you have to put them in an oven and bake them, because they can only play once. It's tape, So we baked all the tapes and played them straight into the computer, and it turned out perfect.
That's incredible. I had no idea you could do that with that technology. Jon Anderson joining us on Morning Bull and 97 Rock. Okay, so how would you describe what people are going to hear? I mean, is this... You mentioned when it was done a very long time ago. Is it going to sound a lot like... the very, very in diapers, Yes? Is it going to sound different? Like, what is it going to sound like? What are people going to hear?
It's a very magical album. There are a couple of tracks on that I did vocally at home. In my studio, I live in Central California, up in the hills, away from the village. And I sing every morning. I like doing that. And I sang these rhythmic ideas, vocalizationing, I call it. And I sent them to Michael Franklin, the producer, and he made the music to these songs on the way from Orlando to China on his laptop. So it's amazing what you can do in this modern world. One's called Rama Lama, and the other one's called Where Does Music Come From?
It's remarkable, too, Jon Anderson, that people may not know this about you because you are most known for your work with Yes, but you have somewhere in the neighborhood of, I want to say, like 15 solo albums. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I love creating, and I was lucky I was lucky to make a lot of different kinds of music. I've made some music about Ireland, Irish music. I've made music about Carlos Castaneda, the great writer, Central American music. I've made music about Australia. I work with Australian musicians and all that kind of thing. And it's like life is full of so many adventures musically. And I've even got a Christmas album that some people love. It's called Three Ships. And, hey, I got to keep writing. I've got to keep busy.
Absolutely. John Anderson joining us here on Morning Bull and 97 Rock. If you'd oblige me a couple of yes questions. First of all, is there a song that you guys wrote anytime throughout your career that you never thought would take and did?
I definitely feel that Close to the Edge was a true musical event in my life, and a lot of people loved that album, Close to the Edge. And it was so, 20 minutes of music in one go is something that people don't do much, And we did it, and we took it around the world, played to thousands and thousands of people, 20,000 people listening to this music, and you could hear a pin drop. And that is the classic feeling that we were doing something pretty good and pretty unique.
You were described and have been described forever as a prog rock band, and you were famous for doing what I'll call, in air quotes, un-radio-friendly songs because they were so long. But back then, when radio was the way it was, you could get away with it. Now you have to write a 3.5 or 4 minute song to get on the radio, right?
It's true. Well, it always has been. You see, at that time we did Fragile. It had 4 10-minute pieces. The only place we could get it played was by universities, the FM stations. And that's what spurred me on to do a larger piece, thinking in America they got FM radio where people love to play the long pieces. And just as we finished the album, FM disintegrated back to AM. So that's life,
Hey, John Anderson, through your long Hall of Fame career, is there still somebody on your bucket list that you would love to play with that you never have had the opportunity to do it?
Well, I've got to tell you, there's a guy out there who lives in London. His name is Jacob Collier, and please just go Jacob Collier YouTube and listen to this guy. He does incredible music. He orchestrates. He's an unbelievable. And you see him on YouTube. You always get comments, And there's one comment that I'll never forget. It says, "Welcome back, Mozart."
Very interesting. John Anderson, famously from his new solo record, 1,000 Hands, available pretty much everywhere you can get music, including Amazon. It's remarkable, and this is something that was delved out of the dust of his garage and a project that they perfected, and it is incredible, and all kinds of celebrity guests playing on it, not only from his former bands, but also just friends playing on this new record. John Anderson, congratulations on the new material. We certainly hope at some point you guys can get back on the road, and even if you're doing some sort of, video concerts or something that we can watch, we can't wait to see you perform some of this new stuff down the road. Congratulations on the new record, and thanks for spending some time here in Buffalo. We've seen you so many times, solo and with Yes, whether it was Art Park in Buffalo, whether it was at the Old Odd in Buffalo. I'm certain you have some great memories of playing here.
Yes, every time. Buffalo's a special place to play, I got to tell you. And lots of love to you guys.
We appreciate it very much. John Anderson, a thrill. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you.